Good afternoon, my brothers and sisters, and welcome to our annual meeting. So please bow your head. Let's open our meeting with a word of prayer. Lord our God, our Father, we thank you for St. Gabriel's Church. We thank you for the people of St. Gabriel's. We thank you for your plan for us. We thank you for having called us from everywhere unexpectedly to be here to continue your work. Years ago, you have started that work with different people. And years after years, you kept calling your people to be here to continue your work. And today we have the privilege and we feel honored to be the group that you call to continue your work in this community. As we gather today for our annual meeting, you know everything. You know the struggle of your church. You know the blessings of your church as well. As we gather as leaders, as brothers and sisters, to continue to see how we can better worship you in this place, serve you in this place, and serve your people within the community. We're asking you, dear Lord, to be present among us through the power of your Holy Spirit during this meeting. From the beginning to the end of this meeting, help us to remain inspired by your word, filled, strengthened by your sacrament, so that we may do the work, we may inspire to do the work you have called us to do here. Help us whatever decisions we are making. Help us whatever we are saying. We are not saying anything for ourselves, but we are saying things, we are making decisions that will help your church to continue to grow. Bless us, guide us, and be among us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. So it is now 12:37. I call the annual meeting of St. Gabriel's in order. Thank you. And we have the wardens next to me, and our recorder for the day will be Mrs. Adams. You will go, each one and everyone must have received a copy of this booklet. And when you turn the page, unfortunately, there is no number. But when you turn it, as soon as you turn it, you will see something we call agenda. And then that will take care of, already we have prayed already, and we call the meeting to order. And what we will do, we will take time to, all the ministries, they have submitted reports, and we will try to go through them and to know about what each ministry is doing. And after that, you will see it will be my message in the report. If you want me to read it again, I'll be happy to do so and keep you here for another 2 hours. But if you choose not to, we will continue after that to the finance report. And the finance report regarding the 2024. And also we will move to the 2025 budget. And then the status of the ground lease. So you know about the ground lease we have. And we will take questions, we will take suggestions and comments. And after that, I will ask one of the wardens to close us in prayer. So that's the agenda. Is there anything you feel like that is missing in the agenda? I will take the silence for yes. No, I will take the silence for no. There is nothing missing. Okay, so, and I apologize because as I was preaching earlier and I talk about the boiler working well, and what transpired, somebody came after to tell me that people were still cold in the church. And coldness is due to we kept it low because that's the way it was. We did not raise the boiler. Now I just raised it up. It was at 70. And as the people we are, we can raise it up to 72, 73, 75. So we're not going to 80. So the first thing we do, unfortunately, we don't have the numbers of the page. So we will go to the Acolyte Ministry, and you will notice that I take the liberty to add ministry to all the titles because we need to start understanding whatever we are doing. It is a service we are serving. And if you are doing something, you don't see the service, that means we need to reevaluate and make decisions. So that's why let's take 2 minutes to go to the Acolyte Ministry. We're going to take another 2 minutes to go over the Altar Guild Ministry and the Choir Ministry. They are on the same page. You are now given another 2 minutes to go over the ECW ministry. You are now given 1 minute to go over the scholarship ministry. You are now given 1 minute again to go over the lectors, intercessors, and lay Eucharistic ministry. Now we have another minute to read the music ministry report. You are now given a minute to read the Daughters of the King Ministry report. You are now given 2 minutes to go over the Security Ministry report and the Usher's report. You are now given 1 minute to go over the Sick and Shortened Ministry report. You're receiving 2 minutes to go over the Technology Ministry report. We have 1 minute for the youth ministry report. We have another minute in the last minutes to go over the warden's ministries report. Thank you. As I said earlier, you'll get the priest report already. So we don't need to spend time now to go over it. And we will move to the financial reports. And at this point, I'm calling upon our treasurer, Mr. DeHart, to please come to the mic and explain it to us.
Okay, so I'm going to try and just go through this page by page, and hopefully nobody will have any questions, but I know that's not going to happen. Okay, so the first report we have is the profit and loss statement for the church for our 2024. Now, the first page, or the first page and a half, deals with revenue, what we raised. Now, the first two revenues we have basically revenue 4,000, anything 4,000 to, oh, well, never mind. It's not clear on the way it's printed here. You have total donations, total 4,000 donations, $107,103.82. That's the money you put in the envelopes every week that we collect. You see all the different categories above that total. You have your pledges, the plate offering, holy days, et cetera, et cetera. So that's 107. Then below that, you have restricted donations. Now, basically, there are three restricted donations categories listed: the capital fund, the directed discretionary fund, and scholarship fund. So if you put money in your envelopes for a capital fund, that's included in that. That was $2,372. If you put in money for the directed discretionary fund, that's $1,551.69. And then we have scholarships. Now, you notice there's a dash next to scholarship. That dash should actually be next to the 200 because that's a negative number. We no longer are collecting for scholarships. And so we returned any scholarship money that was collected in last year to those who donated. So that's a minus $200. So that brings our total restricted donations to $3,723.69. So that means combining those two numbers together, we get $110,827.51. That is what was donated by you, our parishioners, to the church last year. Then you have line 4,300 other income. Mainly, that's mostly funeral services for when somebody outside church uses a church for a funeral, they make a donation or they pay for us. So we that was like $1,550, and then there's a little extra over that. Then you have 4,400 fundraising income. We didn't have rally this year, so there was no fundraising income. Then we have program and ministry incomes. Daughters King, again, for Daughters King, the way it's listed here, there's a dash next to the Daughters King. That should be next to the $10. That's a negative number. My understanding is the Daughters of the King are not allowed to maintain a bank account. We're not allowed to keep money for them. So a donation that was given for Daughters King was returned to that person last year also. You have the parking lot rental. You actually have rental income first, $400. That was what St. Joseph's gave us when we let them use the church in December. You have parking lot rental of $10,000. That was when we were renting out the parking lot. That's what we got from the people who were renting the parking lot from us. We're no longer renting the parking lot, so that's gone. And then we have rectory rental. Father Boyce is still in the rectory. So he has been giving us some money to cover his expenses. That was $3,500. So that brings the total rental income to $13,900. So that brings our total revenue that we raised from you and from our other sources to $137,675.51. Does anybody have any questions about our revenue?
We take questions after.
Okay. All right. Next, we have our expenditures. You have utilities. We are not paying for utilities. The diocese pays all our utility bills. So the only utility that we were paying for the rectory when Father Boyce was priest. So that is what that says. Phone and internet, $2,109.76. That's what we pay. At the end of August, when he was no longer our rector, I was under the impression that he was leaving, so he was moving out. So I was going to try and turn off the phone in the rectory. I couldn't do that. They wouldn't let me do that. But I asked him to do that, so he's now paying that bill, or someone's paying it for him. So we're not covering that anymore. Then you have basically building maintenance and repairs totals. That's $13,638.91, and that's like boiler, etc., cleaning up. Then you have office and general administrative expenses. Now the big number there, and this new number would be $6,115.01 for. Oh no, that's office expenses. No, that's not there. Yeah, so that's office expenses basically still. So that's like paper, copier. That's all there. So then we have our employee expenses. So again, the diocese pays for the priests. The diocese is paying Cornell. So we spent supply clergy. So for when somebody other than the rector or the vicar was was doing the services, that was $1,775. Then we have supply organist. We are paying for our organist right now. We're hoping to get him put on salary. So, and when George Davey was doing the organist, he was being paid by the diocese. But when he left, since then we've been paying the organist, all our organists. So that's $11,875. Then sextant, $525. That's when Cornell does extra work for us. We compensate him for that. We pay him for that. And then the new salary is the administrative assistant. That's $3,888. That's for Mr. Matines, who's doing it. Then you have your payroll expenses, taxes, professional services, bookkeeping service, the audit. The audit was $27,500. Dorian Moon is our new bookkeeper. That's the $527.50. Church all the supplies. Church altar and religious supplies. That's all the supplies, flowers, music ministry, music supplies. So like the $563.7 for in music ministry. That's like singers and stuff like that. Youth ministry, hospital. So again, ECW expenses. ECW pays for its own expenses, but they have their own bank account. The registration fund expenses. So that totals up to $11,939.10. Conference trading, clergy retreat. When we said Father out there, we also pay for the diocesan convention. We pay for the room, and we pay the cost of that. So that's $7,412. Travel, priestess travel, parking lot tolls. That's $946.34. Okay. So then we have support for the common ministry. That is what we send to the diocese. That's $262. Now, when you add all of those expenses up, you get a total of $129,934.65. Now, I do not consider the money we send to the diocese spending. It gets spent by them. We send them the money. We are not spending that money. They are spending that money. So when you take out the $37,262 from the $129,000, you get a total spending by us as a church of $92,672.65. That is the actual amount of money that we spent. You have under travel and entertainment, right around that, you have a state line 6100, support for common ministry. That's $37,262. That is the money that we send to the diocese for them to spend on us. So they are spending that money. We are not spending that money. So when you have our total expenditures, I would subtract that out of that to get the money that we have actually spent, the total of which we have actually spent. And that will be $92,672.65. That is what we've actually spent on stuff for that for the year. Okay, and then there's another expenditure of $348, which I don't know what it's for. So when you I didn't do that. So when you take out the total revenue of $137,000 and you subtract the $129,000 in expenditures, you get a net profit or a net revenue of $7,392.50. Now, you, yeah, so 7,392.5 plus 376, 262. So if you add, again, since I don't consider the 37,000 that we sent to the diocese spending, if you add that to the net revenue, we get an actual profit of $44,654.50. Now, what ideally should happen is that.
Could we let him finish his presentation? Yeah.
Now, what ideally should
And
happen.
also, when we come to the presentation, we will have to say our name, and then we admitted to speak, and then we speak, and we can go to the mic.
So ideally, what should happen is we should not have a profit. Any money that we don't spend, ideally should be sent to the diocese. Now, so we sent almost all of our money to diocese because we sent 37,000 to diocese instead of the full 44,000. So
could you please stick to the presentation, and then we explain as question arise?
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So that's the profit and loss statement. Next page we have is the diocesan spending, what the diocese spent on us for 2024. So you see for clergy and staff, they spent $100,609.60. Social Security, $31,346.55. Okay. Medical insurance, medical and life insurance, it's listed as $2,684. But if you look further down, you will see under grants and support, there's also a listing of medical insurance, and that's additional $18,956. Pension, $19,461. We have a credit in the disability of $77.09. Working, so basically that's what they spent to us on us. I'm not going to go through all of this. You see there's two things I would like to point out. In contracted services, we have listed St. Gabriel's approved contracted services and diocesan approved contracted services. The amount that St. Gabriel's we requested to pay is only $6,934.63. You have what the diocese is spending on our behalf that they arranged to spend is $212,557. Now, most of that money is spent for the lawyers on the ground lease. They hired those lawyers to work for us to arrange for the ground lease to come from. That is not an expense which, once the ground lease is done, we will have to worry about, hopefully. The other thing I want to point out is the real estate taxes. That's $40,302.40. With the current house being empty and with us renting out the parking lot, we lost the tax exempt status on those two properties, and we're paying real estate taxes on those right now. Once the current house is, I understand, going to be part of the ground lease, so that will take care of that property tax department. We're hoping to get the parking lot reinstated as a tax exempt property, and that's something we would no longer have to pay. So The total spending that the diocese spent on us is $582,417.20 approximately. So if you add the $92,000 that I said should be considered spending that we had in 2023, the total spending on the church on behalf of St. Gabriel's is $675,089.83. That's what's been spent this year on us. Okay. The revenue in the diocese, that's the money that we sent to us. It's different than the revenue than the diocesan that's listed in the profit and loss. Profit and loss that we sent them $37,000. This shows that we sent them $42,828. $42,828.50. The reason for the difference is that there were two checks that were written in December for $5,566.50, which we sent them in December, but they didn't deposit until January. So they didn't get it until January, but we sent it in December. So those two checks were sent in December 2023. Let me stress that. So there's two checks that were sent in December 2023 for $5,566.50 that they did not deposit until January 2024. So that's why there's a difference between the revenue, between the amount of money we sent them, that's listed in the diocesan spending report, and the amount of money that we sent them, that's listed in the profit and loss report. So based on that amount, it shows that we had net loss in diocesan spending of $539,588.68. So that is what we owe them for the year 2024. Okay, the next report is a list of bank activity. It doesn't quite match up with the profit and loss statement because, again, you have things like the checks that were written in December but deposited in January. You have some transfer of monies between accounts and stuff like that. But it pretty much is the same statement. So again, it shows that it agrees with the diocese that we sent them $42,828.50. And again, so the spending here is listed as $102,000 as opposed to the $96,000. Profit is about the same, $37,000. So the main thing you can take from this is that the balance in the main account as of December 31st was $12,061.76. You have a restricted special projects account that has a balance of $4,125.77. And then we had a rector's discretionary fund account, which was closed. So I'll just make a quick comment about that. So when Father Boyce left, he instructed me to close the rector's discretionary account. So on August 28th, 2024, the RDF account was closed and the $19.79 remaining in that account was deposited into the main account. Since that date, all funds meant for RDF were deposited into the main account. So I decided that the RDF should be moved into the restricted account. So on September 23rd, 2024, the $19.79 from the RDF account and all of the funds that were meant for the RDF account that were deposited in the main account were transferred to the restricted account. And since that date, all funds meant for RDF are now deposited in the restricted account. Okay, the budget. The budget is based pretty much on what we did in 2024. So, okay, I see what she did. So she just budgeted for pledges. She didn't budget for any other categories of events, and she didn't budget for specific donations. The budget was prepared by Dorian Moon, George, our accountant. So she has us. She expects us to raise about 97,000 in pledges for next year, for this year. So she has a total donations of 97,000. Again, she didn't budget for the capital fund. She didn't budget for the restricted fund and for the capital fund. She didn't budget for anything else. So, and again, we had no rental income. So she has our revenue down for next year as $97,258.91. That is just pledges. So that's that's the only thing she budgeted for. Okay, so then utilities, again, since we're no longer paying for the phone, directory, and the diocese paying on utilities, she budgeted nothing for utilities. Hopefully, since we have things working, and as far as the boiler, she's decreased the budget of building and maintenance from 13,000 to 4,400. She's decreased the office expenses from 6,400 to 2,500. She didn't budget. She budgeted 300 for mailing. We no longer have an office website, so she budgeted for office expenses, general and administration, a total of $2,800. $2,800. Employee expenses, she budgeted $1,800 for supply, clergy. She budgeted $17,400 for the organist, nothing for sexton. She's budgeted $18,720 for the administrative assistant. So since hopefully the organist and both the administration assistants will be paid by the diocese, we can decrease those. So, but right now we have for salaries $37,920. Payroll expenses, taxes, she's up that to $2,800. So for total employee expenses, right now it's budgeted as $40,724.72. Again, for the only employee expenses we'll have is paying her. She's budgeted $6,000 for next year. Church, altar, and religious supplies, since the music ministry, she's budgeted, instead of like 5,600 that was spent last year, she's only budgeted for 2,000. Flowers, she increased that up to 2,400 from the 2,300 that was spent. Religious supplies, she rounded that up to 2,500. So that means that the total we plan to spend on church, altar, and religious supplies is 6,900. Ministry program and events expenses. For youth, she's budgeted $3,700 for youth. That's just upping the amount. Hospitality expenses, she rounded that down to 2,000. We're not buying no ECW expenses. She went that zero because that's she budgeted $1,000 for a bunch of expenses. So that's $6,700. And then conference and training expenses, she rounded that down to 5,000 as opposed to 7,400 last year. And travel and parking and total expenses, has it at $500. So she has a total expenditure listed of $73,024.72, as opposed to the $93,201 from that was spent last year. So she does not include in this report, in the budget, what we are sending to the diocese. So that leaves us with an expected profit of $24,261.19.
Thank you. So I know that you have a lot of questions by now. I would ask Mr. Dihart to stay here. We will come later. No, you can stay. Thank you. And since we have in our agenda, we would give the status of the ground lease first before we go to questions, suggestions, and comments. So at this time, I'm calling your attention to go on the last page. You will see that's exactly a picture of the amount of land that will be used for the ground lease. So you have an idea of the one in red. That's the part that is going to be used for the ground lease. And to give you an update, I will read for you. I will ask our warden, Mrs. White, to please read for us the latest update we received about the ground lease. You can go ahead. Yeah.
Father, before we can move on, we have to put in a motion. We have to ask some questions and answers before we can move on to something else.
I can't hear you.
Before we can move on to another subject, we must have questions and answers based on the budget, and then we can put in a motion to accept it and to second it.
If you follow the agenda we all agreed upon, we agreed with the agenda at the beginning, we will follow it, correct? And according to the agenda we agreed to follow, the questions will come after. And don't worry, we will come to the questions. We will take time to answer the questions. We just want to get this done, okay? Are we on the same page? Do you follow the agenda? Yes. That's what we are following.
Regarding to the budget, so there's questions that will be asked. Also, before we can move on, once we have addressed those questions, then we can put a motion to it. We're going to accept it, we can accept it, and then we can move on to another subject.
Okay, we will come to that. Thank you.
Okay, these are the latest updates that we received from the diocese about the ground lease project. The ground lease negotiation began in July 2023 and was signed in the day of the diocesan convention on November 15, 2024. To recap, the 99-year ground lease was made with a developer to build a 110,000 square foot nursing home facility housing 200 beds to be operated by the Parkside Group, who will be moving their Union Plaza facility in Flushing to Hollis once it is built. The ground lease was approved by the Standing Committee on December 17, 2024. The deed that conveyed a portion of the general lease of the ground lease property contained a reverter that requires the land to be used for church purposes, or it would revert back to the original owner. One of the contingencies in the lease is the requirement for us to remove this reverter. The case to remove the reverter was submitted to the court on September 12th, 2024, before the lease was signed. A judge has been assigned, and we continue to await the judge's response. Based on our attorney's prior experience, we feel confident in a positive outcome. Due to St. Gabriel's status as a religious corporation, the lease must also be approved by the County Supreme Court. This petition is in the process of being drafted and will be submitted as an affiliated action to the reverter removal. This petition was not able to be filed until after the standing committee had approved. Please let me know if any additional information is required. I will be happy to provide. Ellen.
Thank you. So at this point, we have covered all the ground, and now the floor is open to questions. We can question questions regarding the budget, the questions regarding the financial report, and also questions regarding the ground lease. The floor is open for questions, comments, and whatever. The mic.
Good morning.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good day. Melissa Lee. And my question is about the ground lease. Is it my understanding that the decision has already been made to build a nursing home across the street? Is there any provision being made for the church to have access to any of that space to accommodate if we wanted to have a luncheon or anything like that? Or would we be required at that point, after it's built, to go and rent a facility to have a luncheon, a dinner dance or whatever, because our space downstairs may not be large enough to accommodate the activity that we're planning.
Thank you. So basically, you're asking whether we will have access to that place. And a lease, we will have, they will be our tenants. And when you have tenants, there might be some arrangement in which the church still using, but whenever you have, that's possible. I need to ask that question. That's possible for in terms of parking lot, in terms of use of the hall and things like that, if they will have one. But whenever you have access to that reduces in the what you would receive as the rental. Yeah. So, but that's possible. Thank you. I heard 200, I believe.
The only money that returned for the scholarship fund was what was collected last year. So if somebody did know something last year, it was returned to them. The rest of the scholarship fund we'll have to deal with later. We are not taking money for scholarship at this time. The last, in the scholarship report, I believe it said the last time a scholarship was made was, the last time a scholarship was rewarded was 2020. So we haven't we haven't given out a scholarship for the last 4 years.
No, we are taking questions. Yeah. Sure. So, Andrew, could you please bring the mic to her? Thank you. Yes, yes. And if you look, she's asking whether we have to tear down the school building, everything. Yes. And the answer was yes. Yeah.
When the woman reported, she indicated that she was recapping, and part of this recap was information that this ground lease had been approved in December 2024. Was there a prior report given to this church concerning this ground lease? Because I do not recall any prior information, so that I'm sort of surprised that we are recapping.
Oh, the ground lease, you said?
Yes, was there a prior report that was received by this church, by the members of this church concerning this ground lease? Because the woman indicated in her report today that she was recapped.
In her report? No. Okay, so what she read the latest we received from the diocese regarding the ground lease. So they updated us with an email that we did not have time to publish in this. Is that clear? Or?
So is this the first time that the bishops' committee is hearing about the ground lease? Because I do not recall that a report was given to us about the background of this ground lease.
Okay. So I don't think this is the first time the bishops' committee or even the church heard about it. And when I came here and I began to hear about it, and we had we did not have enough information, and we went and looked for information. This is part of the update I requested just before the meeting and to see where they are. So therefore, I assume the bishops committee before that, and the church knew about it.
When was that report given to this church by the bishops' committee?
This report?
No, when was the report about this ground lease presented by the bishops' committee to the congregation? The initial report.
So that before my time. So I would appreciate if one of the wardens or one of the members of the committee to please speak to that.
So before Reverend Sully came, I believe the church was made aware that we were going to go into this ground lease agreement, but I don't believe specifics were given. So, but as a bishops committee, we were given a little more information, and when Reverend Sully came in, we were able to go back to the diocese and request more information so that we could bring it to you.
That's where we are.
I'm just expressing a concern. And the concern is that this is a major issue in terms of the church's property. And to be told today that there is a recap by someone named Aaron doesn't seem to communicate to the congregation that we have been kept updated concerning this major issue of the church's property. And I think there should be some policy of reporting to this congregation in more detail rather than waiting until January 2025 to tell us about something we have been asking about for quite some time. It's quite clear that every member of this congregation is interested in the property of the church. But I do think that there's a lack of communication. I don't know exactly what the breakdown of the communication
was sufficiently updated that we could prepare to give this information. And it makes me think that there's even more information that we're not being provided. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you very much for raising these questions and to show. I believe since I came here and I have heard people, some approach and ask questions and tell me about things that I was not aware of. I said, my responsibility is to go and ask what they are about, and that's why. So, I'm not going to go back. So what we are going to do, as you said, we will try our best. We will try our best to provide information. And also one of the things I spoke about with the bishop committee should be willing to meet regularly so that it's not after things happen that we know. So we, on a monthly basis, we need to have documentation of our minutes, what discussed, and also we need to have report about whatever that the church is involved in. So I think the comment, you don't even ask me questions to embarrass me, but you just make a comment that I will take seriously. And then we will continue to take it seriously.
With Father's permission, if I should say something. Information that was given to the congregation was inadequate. All we knew is that there will be all the properties, it will be a ground lease, and they are intending to build a nursing facility. That's what was told to us. The details we did not know. When Father Sully came, questions were asked. He himself wasn't aware of many of the issues, and he did his best to go and delve, and that's where we are today. Because we posed certain questions to him because the congregation would want to know, and he did so.
This is Liverpool, thank you. But we are not pointing fingers or we know that you and the church leadership are doing a very difficult job, and we appreciate all the work you're doing. The concern that I am trying to communicate is that there's been a breakdown in communication. And I'm not suggesting that it's on your part or on Father's part, because you're doing your best. But we are entitled to information. And if that means that there has to be more activity between the bishops committee and the diocese to ensure that you get proper information so you can bring it to us, then perhaps that needs to be worked with. But we're not, no one is blaming anyone in this church. But we have all invested now for generations in this church. This is our home. This is our parish. We are entitled to information, and whoever is making the decisions outside of the church has to understand that we are not going to tolerate being left in the dark.
Thank you, Judge. We appreciate your concern and the concerns of others.
Okay, for the time being, let me say this. I will not know all the time what questions we have, what is unclear for us in our mind. So please, the time I'm here, please approach me, even as you're walking out of the church. Say, Father, what about this? What about that? And I will go and find out. So that's how we keep each other updated. There are questions I know I went to ask. It is just because people ask them. And when I come here, I don't know what you know. I don't know what you don't know. So now I'm understanding that a lot of people did not know. But we will know. We will know. We will try our best to update you. And please, we want to update you. Feel free to ask the questions along the year. Don't wait for January or for the end, and we have a mountain of questions. Yeah. No, we have Mr. Myers. Could you please use the mic?
I feel that the Bishop Committee was not transparent with us here. When Father Boyce was here, I remember there was a developer king here, and they had discussed about turning the school into something, and the building or something, and we would go apart where it came into the church here. And we had a discussion about what they was planning on doing to the building. And we all was against it because they said it's going to make it a school. We wanted to make a school, and they talk about the public residents and everything like that. But now we come fast forward here. We was not even a part of it. Did the bishop committee went to the diocese as they were sitting down? Did they went there and fight for us, and try to bring something to the community? We don't need another nursing home. We need more than that. We need a community center. It's something for the community. But the bishop committee there, were they speaking on our behalf? Because clearly the church didn't know what was going on until this day. Why did we have to wait till we see an annual meeting that we should have had a long time ago, and now we see something on the back of the program what they are planning on doing to our church? This is our house. I understand why the bishop committee allowed this without we have input on this. You come here every Sunday. There's announcements. When more announcements talking about what's the update, what the development, or what's going on here. We are lost for words here. Someone has to take responsibility what they did not do. I'm sad.
Mr. Myers, I hear your concern, and I completely understand where you're coming from, but we went through a transition because we had a vicar, and we became an aided parish, and because we're an aided parish and we're a bishop's committee, we don't have the power to make decisions. Yes, we can advocate, we can tell our opinions, we can speak on behalf of the congregation, but ultimately, the decisions are the bishop's. So this ground lease project was a decision of the bishop and the diocese, and we could only go with it. And then we went through a transition of Father Boyce leaving and Father Sully coming. And Father Sully is trying his best to understand what's going on so that we can do better with the congregation going forward and keep you updated with information as it comes to us.
And also, as regard to those people who came here, they talked about it. I don't know how soon, but they were fired by the diocese. And that's why we never heard from them again. The diocese fired those people, and so we were no longer able to work with them. So that's why that happened.
So this conversation you're having now, I'm trying to be part of it, but I'm not fully understanding it. So, but let me say this. My understanding is this. When the church changed his status, something happened. I'm not going to go to that. Something happened. And then the bishop came. And while the bishop was talking to you, I understand there was, how can we get out of it? And I think this was the response, how we get out of it. So now, I suspect, if I'm not correct, let me know. I don't know at what level that discussion happened, but my understanding it was we going to go to that list in order to help funding the ministry of the church. And then because in the past, the ministry of the church used to be supported by QSA. So that's what a different model it was designed to come and help. So at that point, I don't know how it happens that we had a plan. Suddenly the plan was not clear. The plan was not communicated clear enough that I get that. So, but moving forward, it's hard for me to imagine how we did not know it takes so long for me to present this. To be honest with you, I don't think I'm giving news here. No, I don't think that was news. I thought this is something everybody knows. Okay.
We knew we didn't have no money. That was unfair to him to bring him here. And they knew that they didn't have the money to bring that man here. And now we have you here. And we happy for you, your leadership. But I don't blame it on you. Not a bit. Because you wanted me here with your eyes open to figure that we knew everything was going on here. No. This church was doing well. It started well. But now, I don't know what the direction. How can we become not a dependent on someone? When will we be a point where we become independent? And I figure that we be a part of the decision making of that life there. Then we become independent. But it looks like, where are we going as a church? Where?
To be honest with you, I don't think it's out of respect. I don't think you need to be independent or dependent to have information. Information has nothing to do with your status or whatever. So it is you are here and they need to work with you.
So I guess what has happened, but looking now forward, we're aiming encouraged. Once this new construction is completed, and it's a home, then there'll be revenue presumably coming in. Where does that revenue come? Will we receive part of that revenue so we can build up our programs here at St. Gabriel's, or is that revenue permanently under the control of the bishop or remain in the parish?
No, this is my understanding is that the same you will receive the rent money and the church will receive it. That's my understanding. And I haven't heard or seen anything different from that.
Because I think that's key to this church.
Yeah, and that's why I understand as well. It was after Cusack has left and that put us in a hole, and that they were trying to come up with another different but about the same model to support the ministry here in this church. That's my understanding, and that's what I thought. There was a plan, and I'm now surprised that that plan was not clear enough or communicated clearly enough. You're welcome. Thank you.
My concern is that we as a body need to be more proactive in what is going on. We cannot sit back and wait on others to tell us what they're providing or going to be doing for us. And we've got to make sure that we're ahead of the curve moving forward so that we don't have this problem of not knowing. My concern now is that our previous tenant was a not-for-profit organization. This new venture is going to be a profit organization. How does that affect our tax exemption status? I know we have the information that they're doing, the legal information in terms of deciding if we're using it for the church or if it's used for a private entity. But now with us receiving grant money from this for-profit organization, how does that affect us in taxes? Since we already have a major tax bill that we need to find a way to limit.
My understanding is this. You see how we reported there was a $40,000 pay in tax. And because pay in tax or in connection to the parking lot, the reason why we pay that tax, if myself and you, we are parking, we are having church events here, and we are parking there, we are not going to be charged any tax. And then whenever it's a nonprofit, you have to report a rental. And now this is, as you said, this is a nonprofit. We will receive money and we will receive a tax as well, because that's part of the reasons why I understand that they have to go to court to have it approved, the lease approved by the Supreme Court of the county, because it is not a nonprofit. So I know you are a judge. You are more knowledgeable about those things than I am, if I'm even knowledgeable. So please feel free to jump in and clarify for us at any point if you see that the conversation is not clear and it's not legal, what I'm saying. Thank you. Is that a yes? Did you hear what I said?
Yes, I did hear. I heard what you said. But let me just point out that I sit in this congregation purely as a parishioner and not in any legal capacity. So I cannot give legal advice to the church. But I just want to make that clear. I'm here as a member of this congregation, not in any legal capacity. Professionally, what I do, I'm not here in that professional capacity. But I do have a question. How much money at this point is this church required to pay to the diocese?
You want me to answer that?
Go ahead.
And as a follow-up to that question, someone can answer that question, I really appreciate it. And as a follow-up, what is the plan that the Bishops Committee has for helping us to regain parish status? Thank you.
You're welcome. So let me have, Henry seems to have some answers.
Okay, so I can't answer what's going to happen to parish status. I don't know if we need to repay everything we owe them before we get parish status, or if we just need to be given what income we were receiving, no longer needing them to run the church. I don't know how that works. Based on the information that I have gathered from the diocese from Father Gulisan, we, as of the end of last year, December 31st, 2024, we owed the diocese $836,051.19. That's for the 2 years that we have been, that they have been paying our bills. $836,051.19. That is what I have asked.
I believe you have 600, no?
No,
No?
$836,051.19 is our net loss that we owe them.
Okay, thank you. Andrew. So let me, first of all, yes, I understand that your capacity, you are a parishioner, and that's putting you in a very difficult spot and to ask you for legal advice. So that's when I say legally, if I say something that is not appropriate, or if you understand something better, that's why I said you can weigh in. But I understand that. And when it comes to,
I just want to say, so this is mine, so a few minutes ago, used a very important term, and that was being proactive. I think that we all want to be proactive in determining what diocese is going to require in terms of the repayment of its $836,051.90 as a condition of regaining our status. I don't think we can just not have a conversation about that. We have to know how we are going to gain our status. That is what we want. We were a parish for so many years. Generations worked hard, diligently, to make this church what it was. And we are looking forward to this church again having that status. It is not our intent to remain an Asian parish forever. We are looking at this as a temporary status. But I'm not getting the feeling that we're being proactive with the diocese in finding out just what the conditions are for regaining parish status. And I would really like us to make a point of knowing what our responsibility is going to be so that we are not surprised again.
yeah. So I totally agree. And let me try to remember the other concerns you had before. It was how we pay. So I don't know. I asked that question. What I heard, what I understood is that when the rental starts, that's when the diocese will begin to take. I don't know what percentage. I don't know if it is an installment. This is a question I need to go further to ask. And thank you for reminding me of that question so that I may follow up with it. And secondly, what plan that we have, and I remember when I came and I have asked that same question with you, and I was sitting here and I asked, what is the plan? And I don't know if you want to hear the answer I got. The answer, part of the answer I got, it was, the plan we had a plan with CUSAC to support our ministry, and we have lost CUSAC. And then now, the hope, we don't even see how by ourselves, on our own, we can fund the ministry here. So the plan is to wait for the deal, to wait for the lease, so that we can come back again. So that seems to be the plan. But I understand it's not an elaborated plan, because it is, okay, so that's one person saying that's what they think. And the plan that we have begins today as we gather to put all these things to start the conversation, so that that conversation should not be it's the bishop committee sitting, talking to you, this is what we have, this is what we know, and give you an opportunity to weigh in, to have that conversation. And that plan, the bishop committee will have a plan, and a plan that will be discussed with you and based on our concern, based on this conversation. So part of the plan start here, I would say.
You mentioned just a moment ago that we kind of are assuming that once the rental money starts coming in, we'll figure out how we're going to pay the diocese. We have a ground lease that has been signed, but there's litigation going back and forth, so nothing really is concrete. Do we know when they're gonna break ground? And how long is it going to take them to build that facility before the tenants take possession or start moving in? How long is it going to take before we start seeing income from that property? Because right now we owe almost $850,000. And that number is going to increase over time. It takes them another 2, 3, or 4 years to build it and move in before we start seeing any kind of income. So I guess my question is, are we just gonna sit on our hands for the next 3 years and wait for that money to come in? Or are we going to start figuring out how we can start to pay down that $850,000? So that by the time the money comes in, we're not over $1 million in debt to the diocese.
Thank you. So I think, again, that goes back to the conversation we need to have with the diocese that is not enough. Because, and I did not say we will figure it out. I suspect there is a plan already, so I don't know, there is a plan already for repayment. I don't know. I'm trying to figure it out. So it's the diocese. Probably they have. It may not be the first place where they do that, and they may have a plan already. So I will try to find out what is the plan. And I came close the other day to ask that question, so the person did not know.
Also,
And in terms of
yeah,
when are we starting, from what we just heard from the the latest report I had from the building, the building management of the diocese, I would say, and the building department, let me call it like that. Real estate department of the diocese. So this is what they said to me. This is what they said. They said now they are in the process. They have started all the work in July 2023. That's correct. In July 2023, and they signed the lease already in November 2024. And according to the lease, since we are a nonprofit, they have to get it approved by the Supreme Court of the county. And also, I know the promise, here we go. I heard here the promise that was made, it was a period of 3 years to get us back. Huh? A period of 3 years to get us back. So therefore, there was a conversation. So if we had, and the other day I was talking about it and I heard, oh, they have promised us 3 years. So now, if now we have to linger in court, things are taking longer in court, whether we will finish it before before the 3rd year. So therefore, there are pieces of information, broken informations here and there. So let me go back. So when we are in the court system, eh, we may not know, but according to them, it's not going to take too long to deal with the reverter removal and also to deal with the approval of the lease. So if it started in July 2023, when will it be finished to complete the 3 years? That would be about July 2026.
Okay. Also, what, your question, once the lease is signed by both parties, they start paying. It doesn't matter whether they build it or not. So they could, once the lease is signed, they're renting that land, they're renting that ground. It's up to them to build on their timetable. It does not matter. They could spend 2 years, 90, they could spend the full 900, build 99 years to build that building. But they are paying the rent on that ground once the lease is signed. So once they start, when they start breaking the ground and building and occupying that building, that's up to them. We don't care. But once they sign the lease, they have to start paying because they are renting that land from us at that time. It was only signed by us. It hasn't been signed by them.
Okay, so there is no follow-up questions on that. Okay.
Forgive me if this is already been addressed, but who's paying for construction?
They are.
They are, the new tenants?
That's their problem.
Okay, okay.
Thank you.
What's the leasing land?
99 years.
Also, since they're going to be doing some work, they will be tearing down the buildings there. Security-wise, I'm gonna ask that the Bishop Committee get in contact the diocese because the buildings across the street, I know, I feel someone is in there, or they need to be in there, but they need secure that building. Meaning that they need to board up the windows, all the windows. And secure.
They're going to tear it down. Yeah, I understand, but once they take over the lease, they're going to, that's their problem. They're going to deal with that. They will not have people trespassing on that land.
Okay.
So that means that we, right at this moment, we not be concerned if anyone goes in there.
No, we're supposed to be concerned. We need to be concerned because it's our property still, and it's our responsibility. But once the lease
Could you speak to the mic?
we need to be concerned about that because it's our property, it's still our responsibility. Once the ground lease is signed, they're going to make sure that nobody comes onto that property because they're going to build on that. Once they tear down those buildings and they're building something, they don't want people coming on that and getting injured because they'll get sued. It'd be their responsibility, not ours anymore after that point. So it's up, we need to be sure, but once, again, like I said, once the lease is signed, it's their problem.
Okay.
At least but until the, yeah.
Like, if I need to be, the windows to be, all of them to be boarded up, that's going to be our responsibility.
That will be our responsibility until the lease is signed.
Any more questions or comments? So this is the time I believe we need to really take time to, because I'm listening and I'm getting questions, and so that we can start working. I don't see anyone. I'm sorry. No. Let me conclude this. So since I see no more people coming to ask questions, so I thank you very much for all your questions. And feel free to even write your questions and ask me the question so I don't feel offended. We know members of the Bishops Committee will feel offended if you ask questions because we ourselves we need to know. And sometimes we don't even remember all the questions. But when you come and ask us questions, and I say, oh, yes, that's true. And we go and ask questions, we clarify for ourselves, and we clarify for you as well. So thank you very much for your questions. And now I will call on our organist, Mr. Paolini. He just has something, suggestions. So you have 2 minutes to talk about it? You don't even need 2 minutes.
Hello, everyone. I'll say good morning because I'm a musician, so mornings until 4 p.m. today. I just wanted to share with you all very quickly, well, my wife, Siobhan, is here every week with me to sing in our choir. She and I have a few friends who live in Queens, actually, all of us musicians. Decades of music teaching experience between the four of us, who are really excited at the idea of starting an extracurricular music program. And we were wondering if there might be the possibility of developing such a program here at St. Gabriel. There seems to be spaces downstairs, that community room divided, as I can see, into 4 different rooms. There's a choir room, there's a sanctuary up here, there's a nursery I just discovered today that connects to the choir room. By my count, there's maybe 7 different spaces, and I have in my hands a rough outline of a really comprehensive music curriculum that our friend Jessica Bow, who some of you may remember, she joined us on Christmas Eve. She sang with us in the choir. And we sort of the 3 of us together developed a curriculum that starts at infancy, like 6 weeks old. There's classes for toddlers, for preschoolers, into elementary school, middle school, all the way through high school graduation. And what's nice about this, if we might be able to come to some sort of an arrangement with the church to implement this program, is that it can be done piecemeal. It doesn't have to be done all at once. I'm confident that there was enough interest that we could implement the entire thing. Because I know these teachers, and we're all very, very good musicians and very dedicated teachers. But we might be able to start with just a day, 2 days, 3 days, and build up from there. And it might be a little bit of a source of income for the church also. That's all. I just wanted to share.
Okay, thank you. So I would say in things like that, we would never close our doors. But however, this is something that will come to the bishop committee, and when you have, I believe you have a few things in writing, and we will. Yeah. Yes. So we will discuss that, and we will see how we can work together.
Yeah, so how should we proceed? Should we just find some time to chat on the phone? We'll proceed from there. All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. And since now we don't see any, we come to the end of our agenda, and I need a motion to adjourn the meeting. Is there a second? All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All against, just saying. Okay, thank you very much. So, conversation to be continued, and the Bishops' Committee we will have to do much better. Thank you again. Who wants to close us in prayer? We stand, please. We need to show that we want to live.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for your message today, to hear your words, because you are a part of this session. We praise you, we thank you. All glory belongs to you. And what is being asked of you today, Lord, is to guide us on our path, to love this church with unity, because if we do not have unity among us, we are no good. We are blind, walking and stopping. Hear us, O Lord, and grant us your salvation. And may you touch us from the crown of our head to the sole of our feet. Remove all unwanted energy from within and around us, and replace it with positive energy. Hear us, O Lord, in this I pray.
Amen. The Lord be with you.
And also with you.
May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and be gracious to you today, tomorrow, and forever and ever.
Amen.
Let us bless the Lord.
Thanks be to God.
Have a wonderful week, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Can we have a quick meeting, executive committee? With my